Interestingly, within the past 5 minutes, this vehicle just pulled up here. It's a Sikh charity based in Slough. They've been watching TV coverage in recent weeks of what's been happening here. This ordinarily would be gear that would be shipped to foreign disasters. And this is Calcerade that we're talking about. So you're going to open it up for it to be brought down. And they've decided, actually, so moved that they've been by the plight of people down here, that they wanted to bring some of these antiseptic products down to help people cope with the situation here. Ravi Singh has driven down from Slough. Yeah. What moved you to do it, Ravi?
Sorry?
What moved you to do this? Why have you decided to do it?
I think we heard your reports. We saw your reports on Sky. And it really moved us that the main thing was why the British charities concentrating on abroad. Why are we not treating this also as a major disaster? And people were complaining that nobody's remembering us, we've forgotten.
Yeah.
And this is a land, this is the area we all like to come on holidays. I come to holidays on this part of the world.
Yeah.
So it's time that we paid back. I think as a British community, we've got to act fast and do not wait for government to react. Because if we wait for the government to do everything, people already lost a lot of their time, livelihoods. So whatever small you can do, come down, but don't block the roads, don't jam the roads, work with existing organisations like this landlord here, and work with them, and do much as you can. This is just a start. We're very happy to go out there. If Jim from the landlord from this pub says he wants more stuff for relief, we'll go and buy it today.
So you'll just offer a ferrying service, you can move things around, perhaps take stuff to people when that request comes in?
We at Carlside, we work all over the world on disasters. We're experienced.
Yeah. Where have you been, Ravi? What kind of disasters?
Lately, Philippines.
Right.
We were still working in Haiti. We worked all over the disaster in the last 10 years, from tsunami to now, and working in India and Punjab as well. But the main focus now is we need to be here with our own community too. Wow. In the hour of need. This is our community. These are our countrymen who are now in dire need. I never knew the amount of devastation until we drove around. To get to this place, we have to go several different routes, and it's amazing. The floods, the fields are like lakes. It's unbelievable. How will they recover from disaster? I think we all need to pull together.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
But you make the point, don't you? I know you had problems with the sat-nav getting in.
Yeah.
The danger is if people spontaneously are moved to help, it could cause problems. So we've got to hedge it a little bit, haven't we, to make sure that people know what they're doing and don't get in the way.
We were yesterday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the phones, linking with organisations here. And it happened that Jim here, the landlord of this pub here, he said, look, come on down, we need what we can get. And that's hence why we came down. If we couldn't get a contact, we wouldn't come down. It'll just make matters worse.
Yeah.
But I appeal to every community that keep these guys in your prayers, do much as you can. It's our time now to serve our own community.
Fantastic. Ravi Singh from Calcerade. Great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming down.
Well, we are on the edge, the banks of the River Parrett. These are some of the fortifications that have been dumped here by heavy lifting gear. Inside, actually, not sand, but the local soil. And I'll just grab a hold of a bit of it to illustrate a point that needs making. This is the local soil, very clean soil. And of course, what that does, and you can see it, well, if you could feel it as I am, you'll realise it's got a consistency that suggests this is something which is highly saturated and can keep holding the water. That's one of the big problems they've got. Once it's wet, the local soil here, it stays saturated, it keeps wet, and of course it's a massive problem for the drainage, and it will take weeks, if not months, to fully drain away. And watching the water levels here and listening to the gripes of locals, justified or otherwise, the MP for Bridgewater. A very good morning to you. It's your regular Saturday morning slot, it seems, but you've got a lot to say. What did you make of what happened this week? You've had VIP visits. What did they achieve?
Well, I think the Prime Minister's one was the most important. He actually came down, he did put on his wellies, before you ask. We actually walked through the flood. We went to see some of the farms that are affected. Then we had a private meeting in Bridgewater at Sedgemoor District Council, really to go through. Made it very clear that everything that we've been given, if we want more, we'll get it. Through him, and he said, just call me if we have a problem. The locals, I think, were reassured about that. Chris Smith, another issue. I just was appalled by his behaviour yesterday. He hadn't got the decency to come into Bridgewater. He hadn't got the decency to come and see us. He went to a bird sanctuary, which was a pretty bad start. The arrogance of the man, it beggars belief.
Well, he did face repeated questioning from people at one
particular instance, a local person managed to start jabbing a finger in his direction. He also said, look, guys, I know people are desperate to demonise the Environment Agency, but the essential arithmetic is that it's the wettest January on record.
Well, absolutely. We're used to the wet.
No, you're not. You're not. That's the point. You're not used to it being this wet. It's the wettest since 1910.
The problem, we are used to it being this wet in the sense that the rivers here flood from Dorset, across Somerset, up into the Mendip. So we're used to this volume of water. It collects in a vast area. Now, the difference here is that these rivers are 40% below the capacity they should be. If you dug out 40% of this, yes, we'd still have flooding. Of course we would. You're absolutely right. But we wouldn't have it to this level. And the pump systems which are behind me up this river, those pumps, if they were renewed and made properly new electric pumps, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And in fact, this river would be considerably lower now. We cope with water, but we're finding it hard.
It's an interesting point, actually. And just over Ian Littlegranger's shoulder, you can see, if our cameraman can just pull it out, there's a pumping station up at Northmoor Green. You can see a spout, a water spout of water. I wonder if you can see that. Just spewing water there into the River Parrett. The pumping station there was installed in 1941. The Spitfires were in the skies above southeast England at that time. That's how old they are. So the technology, you're arguing, needs updating.
Totally. We also need the reams, which are, of course, to us, the ditches, cleaned and kept clean. The internal drainage boards need to be sorted out. But the one thing the Prime Minister did say, which I think is important, that there has to be a fundamental change in thinking to do with the levels. Because if we keep on like this, it is not going to get any better. The climate is changing, we know that, so we're going to have to fight this. So we are having a rethink. The Prime Minister's leading it, and that is obviously welcome.
Yeah. Technology is one thing, pumping stations, all the rest of it. Yesterday, what we saw in the village of Moorland, a couple of miles from here, was the application of good old-fashioned muscle power. And we were talking to one resident in the morning, you know, slight woman of 5'4", who was doing what she could to build these defences around her front door. Sandbags. She was doing daily trips to Wicks to buy breeze blocks, all the rest of it. It was tough for her and her partner. By afternoon, the Marines were in town. They were forming human chains, putting vast numbers, 8,000 sandbags were put down in Moorland yesterday. That should have been happening 4 or 5 weeks ago, shouldn't it?
Well, it's very difficult. As you've seen and you've learned over the last week since you've been down here, this water is unpredictable. We don't know where it's going to come up next. We don't know what it's going to do. If we'd done that, you may have well castigated us for spending the money we shouldn't. It is a balance. It's a dreadfully difficult balance. We have 64 pumps now on this river pumping. The Marines, everybody has been fantastic. The police, everybody. It has been very difficult to forecast this. I mean, I've got threats today, as you're well aware. Gold Command is sitting where we haven't had water before. Now, we know the water is still rising. We just can't tell. So it is a fluid situation, literally. But I can tell you one thing, is that we were not going to give up. You know that. You've seen the resilience of these people. You've said so yourself. We're not walking away from this. This is our homes. This is where we are. This is what we are living in. So we're going to be here for the long term. We've been here since the Roman times. That's when we started this.
I'm on
the
railway
fight.
line, actually, at the station at Dawlish, and you can see behind me we're still a couple of hours away from high tide, but already the sea is lashing against the sea wall there and coming over the rail itself. So parts of this are still in danger as a massive operation continues to try to shore up the railway. Some about 40 metres of it have already been destroyed, 80 metres of sea wall along this area itself. We're told that there's a schedule of about 6 weeks to try to get this up and running again. I mean, it really is vital for this part of the world. This is its main artery to Devon and Cornwall, really connected to the rest of the UK. Part of the big operation here, they've got some kind of huge concrete spraying machinery which is being pumping concrete at a vast rate into the holes and the gaps to try to shore the whole thing up. They've also got sea containers along here which they've cut the tops out of, and they put them in the sea as a part of a breaker, and they're being filled with sand and gravel. So this could go on, well, for the 6 weeks that they say, but if this storm comes in the way that we expect it to, then it could, of course, be much longer. And they could be actually looking at more damage here. On a normal year, Colin, it costs about £500,000 for the maintenance just along here, and there's a full-time crew that do nothing but repointing of the seawall. So it is always a problem. It is always an ongoing headache. But at the moment, of course, it's a real focus of concern for people in this part of the world.